Hello and welcome back to the Naked Marriage Podcast. We are Dave and Ashley Willis, and on this podcast, we address the truth about sex, intimacy, and lifelong love. And you guys are in for a real treat today because we have a dear friend and former producer, Marcus, in the studio with us today.
Marcus Bowen, and let me tell you about Marcus.
Yes.
In fact, I could use the whole time just talking about Marcus and not give him a chance to talk, but I'll try to make it brief because we want to hear from him. So Marcus is one of the most beloved people, not only on our team, but just
in general,
in the world, I think. I've never had anybody come up to me and say, I just don't like that Marcus.
That's true.
He's very loved, and he's wise beyond his years, just an exceptional guy. And he's the first, I think, single person that we've had on the show. And I invited him on specifically, one, because we love him so much, but two, I think it'd be a really meaningful conversation to talk about singleness and what married folks should know about, their single friends, because Marcus has got really strong, lifelong connections to friends who are now married. And sometimes in the world, and especially in the church, we can just sort of self-segregate as like single people over here, married people over here, and then we all miss out.
We do.
So we're going to have a good conversation. Marcus, welcome back.
Great to be here.
Welcome back to the Naked Marriage Podcast.
It's been a while since I've been in a Naked Marriage recording. So
I know.
Here I am. I'm back.
I'm so glad.
Well, we are so glad to see you.
I know.
You are my mother-in-law's favorite person.
This
Mary,
is true.
if you're listening.
That's true. Hey, Mary.
She does. She watches on YouTube.
All right.
No, she always asks about you.
She's going to be so excited right now.
Yeah, so
I love it.
We all love you.
Shout out to Mary. We went on an EXO cruise together several years ago. Bill and Mary are amazing.
We had a good time.
We had a great time.
Dancing, having a good time, go to the Mediterranean. And by the way, we may do that again, so stay tuned for the EXO cruise.
I'm excited about the possibilities of that.
Yes. Well, let's talk about friendship. Like, where do you want to start, sweetie? Friendship with singles when it comes to, like, relating to each other and what we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
Because I literally have never met a person who does it better. And like when I watch you and your friends, like I've talked to you about this before, it just warms my heart. Like I feel like it's just awesome.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Yeah.
And so you've got a unique perspective as a single guy working full-time in a marriage ministry, and many of your closest friends are married folks. And so just wanted to learn your perspective on that. So before we get there though, give us like the quick bio, like the quick Marcus bio of start from wherever you want, but let's start in college, like from college on. What's your adult life looked like?
Yeah, I think college is a good place to start because I feel like that's where a lot of these relationships began. And so went to Abilene Christian University out in Abilene, Texas. Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
This year is my 10-year college reunion.
Nice.
Oh my goodness,
So going to
I love
homecoming soon. And so crazy that it's already been 10 years.
Yeah.
And then, this, in fact, this year is my 9-year anniversary here at EXO. And so started pretty soon after college working here. Did not plan to come work for a marriage ministry, nor was I necessarily looking for that, but it's been really cool over the years to still be here. I mean, I don't think I imagined working my first full-time adult job for 9 years.
Yeah.
Most of my friends have already had multiple jobs by now. And so started out as a video editor on the creative team for many years, part of production and producing the podcasts and things like that. And then now get to lead our events team, which is a lot of fun. And doing our events is what I love the most. And
I love that.
Getting to see all of the couples that we get to impact throughout the year, but then seeing them come, seeing them at events, and seeing the work that we do every day here at the EXO Marriage Center come to life in people's lives at these events is so rewarding to see and so fun to be part of. So during college, really made the best friends of my life. And over
you got some here.
And some are here in the studio today
which is
watching.
So fun.
My best friend James, his wife Molly. And so it's just been cool to see these lifelong friendships that formed so many years ago still continue today through all kinds of different things in all of our lives. We've all been through different things, different ways of life, different physically living in different places, but still valuing those relationships. And so, excited to talk about that today.
Yeah, and that's
Love it.
you're a masterclass on friendship in a world where it's so easy to fall out of touch with people, even when we mean well. I've had great friends through the years that I've fallen out of touch with, and it's my fault. Life will get busy or get doing other things, but you've been so intentional about fostering and nurturing relationships, even as, like you said, geographical location changed, even as marital status has changed and different things changed that could have been a barrier, or you've made those friendships grow even stronger.
Yeah.
And so what advice just on friendship do you have before we kind of jump into singleness, married stuff, just on friendship, because you do this exceptionally well?
Yeah, you do.
Well, I think for me, I just have learned the value of relationships. And I think that's part of why I love working at XO so much, is because so much of what we talk about, yes, is about marriage, but so many of those principles can be applied to relationships in general. And so when I think about friendship, like, I know I need people in my life. That I can't go at it alone. And so that was something that during college, I really learned, because growing up before college, I was pretty quiet, pretty shy, didn't have like a lot of close friends. And then in college as my mom would say, is when I blossomed.
Love it. That's good.
And that's when I, really saw the value of friendship, and then have just really made a point to continue those relationships. And it is work. It's hard work to continue to stay in touch. But it's really cool that once you have that heart connection with somebody, honestly, my best friend James, who's here today, is one of those great examples. They lived in Ireland for 2 years. And it was honestly during that time that our friendship grew the most.
Wow. Because
we were consistently talking via Zoom or Skype. Back in the day, Skype, before Zoom
Skype
was a thing. Like every other week. And during that time, it just really showed the importance of what friendship is. It's not about physically always being together, but just having that personal connection, being invested in people's lives, knowing what's going on, praying for each other. And so, I think, being able to invest in relationships is something that I see as one of the most important things in life. You're never... you can invest in so many different things, but relationships, yes, can be messy and yes, can be hard, but they're also some of the most rewarding things that you can have in your life. And so
So true.
I value people and connection and experiences with people a lot more than just the things in life.
Well said. I think is how that's living, and building on those relationships. One thing I love that you do, you love travel, and like we love travel too. We have that in common with you, but you will go with different friends to amazing places. And it's so cool. I love that, because I think there's something really special, like when you go someplace new together and you're seeing it together and you have this experience, it grows your friendship in a unique way. And I've seen you do that over and over, and it's so cool. And I love living vicariously through you with your pictures and stuff. It's so
you
so
just went to Europe with a friend.
Yes.
And
all kinds of places all over Europe. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
It's cool.
I love it.
It's so good. What do you think, so in the church, for whatever reason, it seems like we self-segregate so often as, married couples over here, single people over here, and we miss out on the depth of friendship that can happen and still happen, keep growing, even as marital statuses change and whatnot. What do you think people are missing out on? Or, what would you say to those folks who maybe just feel like, well, I'm single, so all my friends need to be single, or I'm married, so all my friends need to be married?
Yeah.
I think, you're just missing out on so much if that's how you feel about that. It's very limiting. And that's something that over the years, I've seen in churches is, they have a young adults ministry. But by young adults, they mean single young adults. And I'm like, what? It's young adults. If it's for, if that's what you're calling it, then why does that affect your relationship status?
Right.
And something I've learned is just over the years, like my friends that have gotten married, a lot of us became close friends before everyone started getting married, which I think has contributed to how deep that friendship is. But as friends have gotten married, we still learn so much from each other. We have different perspectives on certain things, but there's still so much of life that we are experiencing the same things in. Of just our generation is all like learning different things together, even regardless of our relationship status. So something that I love is, with my friend group, that even with my married friends, so many of the things that we talk about are related to our faith and related to the church and related to family, like are all issues that we're all dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to separate kind of the single versus married people, I think just limits your perspective on things, but also I think single people sometimes feel like, oh, I'm lesser than because I'm not with the married people.
Yeah.
When in reality, we're all going through very similar situations.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And have a lot to offer to each other. And so I love being with my married friends. Those are sweet relationships that I enjoy being with, and they
enjoy being with you.
I mean, tell.
And we love being with you. We love hanging out with you, and
absolutely.
And I think about even biblical examples of guys like the Apostle Paul, who was single throughout his life in ministry, who some of his very close friends were couples. He was close to Priscilla and Aquila. He was some of the couples that ministered to him, that supported him, that allowed him to stay with them. Like some of the most meaningful relationships in his life were with married people. And Scripture gives us really a lot of examples like that. And I think we are missing out. We're missing out if we just kind of self-segregate and say, no, people have to be in my exact same season of life, exact same marital status, exact same this or that, or else really we can't be friends because we don't have stuff in common or whatever. We're just missing out. It's so limiting, like Marcus said.
Definitely. I would like to, if you're open to talking about this, we mainly have a married audience. We do have a lot of single people who maybe want to be married someday who listen as well. But I would love for you to speak into like what it's like to be a single person living in America right now.
And even dating,
in the dating scene, like what's it like?
It is, I would say, on the dating scene is weird. If I can even just say that, like it is challenging, and it has changed so much. I think, and just even in the last 5 to 6 years.
Really.
I think growing up, I kind of envisioned my life of go to college, then think about marriage, get married around the age of 25, have kids by 30. Here I am, 32, not married, and like navigating the dating world. And I think growing up in the church, there's, this certain kind of Christianese expectation on people to get married in their 20s. And like, if you're still single when you hit 30, oh, well then you're ancient by then. Well, you're probably never getting married. When in reality, there's so many more single people today in America and around the world.
Average age of marriage.
And average age of marriage is getting later and later.
Right.
And so I think the church and outside the church kind of has differing statistics on that. But the reality is that in our world today, a lot of people are getting married later. And so I think that I'm kind of going off track here of what we were just talking about.
No, you're good. I mean, just what it's like to be single, like some of the hurdles that you're facing that we may not know, like as married people.
Well, blind spots married people would have.
I think we have a lot of them.
Yeah, sure.
So
I think when it comes to just being single, single people enjoy being with married people. I think maybe that's
that's good.
A myth there that people think, oh, well, single people just want to hang out with their single friends, and they probably don't want to come hang out with us and all our crazy kids, and we come over to our house where we can't go out and do stuff and party till late at night.
Right.
All single people are not going out and partying, till late at night. I am usually in bed by 9 p.m. And so I think that's a myth that a lot of maybe married people have about single people. And I think just kind of speaking to the dating scene for single people, that has changed dramatically kind of in the last few years, with so much more online dating. Online dating is this interesting thing of like kind of hit or miss. I know several people who have gotten married through meeting their spouse on a dating app. And I've been on some dates with people that I've met on dating apps that have been good. But there's also like a lot of just interesting people out there. And it's just, you know, initiating conversation and trying to get to know somebody over a dating app is just so different than meeting somebody in person.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm so much of a face-to-face person of, hey, let's get together, let's talk. And I like can pick up on people's body language and you know, how they talk and kind of how they carry themselves. And over a dating app, when you're basically just having a text conversation with somebody that you do not know at all, it is really hard to kind of figure out, okay, is this person legit? Are they not? Like, am I interested in this person? And honestly, it's been like, it is difficult, I think, for me as someone who really is like just attracted to people in general, whether it's, hey, I want to be friends with that person, or hey, I want to get to know that person better. So like that's all through physical connection and personal conversation. And it's hard sometimes to even have any bit of attraction just by looking at somebody's picture and having a text conversation.
It feels so distant and disconnected. I get that.
And so, you know, people, I think that's another thing that maybe married people think about single people is, oh, dating isn't that hard. Like, why can't you meet somebody? Why can't, you know, why don't you just get on a dating app and you can easily find somebody?
Just a little you've shared with me about, you know, some of the experiences and just it is so stressful and exhausting. And I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just sorry that, like, I'm so thankful we dated in the dark ages where
I mean, I guess
stuff
really
didn't exist, because it would have stressed me out so much to, you know, swipe this way or that way and do this and that. And it's just, oh man, this is just a lot.
Well, and do you find this, Marcus? I've heard this in talking with some other people who are single in their 30s, just like yourself. And I remember them saying, like, some of the dating norms and how you approach, like how men approach women and how women approach men have changed. And sometimes, like a traditional, I mean, I guess for lack of a better word, a traditional way of like, you meet somebody in a restaurant, like the hostess, and you find her attractive. And so you frequent that restaurant because you're like, she's, you know, seems nice, and you get to know her, and then you make that jump to ask her out. I've heard some people say, because that is considered so traditional, it's not like how a lot of people are meeting these days, that sometimes it's taken the wrong way. Have you had that experience a little bit? Like, that it's almost like, why would you come up to me? Like, you should have just asked for my Snapchat. Like, why would you come up to me like that? No, I mean, literally, like almost
Don't
like
get all
you
up in
are
my
interfering.
Space.
We had a friend of ours talking about her son, just really doing those same steps, and the girl told her manager he was stalking her. Stalking, because he asked her out. And it's just because for her, she was a little younger than him, and I guess for her the norm is like, like we need lots of texting first, we got to snap first, we got to do something else. And he's like, I've been to this restaurant 10 times and not even like,
oh man,
only sat in her section. Like, I just thought when we did talk, it was nice. And I just thought, I told Dave, I said, for our boys, I'm like worried. Like, I was like, that sounds really intimidating. And honestly, to be our son Cooper is 18. He's sensed some of this, and he's like, it's intimidating. I mean, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I think I've seen that in, not necessarily personally, but just kind of observing like groups of people and observing, especially kind of in young adults, groups of people, and just friends that I know, how there's a lot more caution these days, I feel like, especially from the women, of, oh, don't get too close to me, and almost like you have to, like, you can't come on too strong. You can't come on too strong or be too direct. And I think for men, we like to be, hey, communicate, be direct, and just say what we mean and pursue.
But it used to be like, tell guys like, pursue, and now that's considered stalking.
Exactly. Yeah. Apparently. And so it's almost like having to navigate this weird, like, oh, I want to pursue this girl, but am I coming on too strong? Is it now, do I need to be more cautious? But then it's so hard to figure out what people want these days. Because then, like, for example, I went on a date with a girl. I asked her out, said, hey, can I take you out? And then, at the end of the date, it's like, oh, I wasn't sure if that was a date or not. And and it's just like, well, that's what I said. And
you couldn't I couldn't be clearer. Right?
And so there's this weird, I don't know. I think there's just a lot of things contributing to that. Some of that, as you mentioned, kind of like just things going on in our world today that I think people are more careful. But when it's even within groups of people where you like already know the person and are somewhat familiar, like, no, they're not a crazy person. There's still this level of like having to almost like walking that fine line of figuring out, okay, how do I pursue this
that
person?
Just sounds so complicated.
While, while trying to communicate as best I can.
Sure. And not scare them away, because
exactly.
I'm trying to pursue but not be too strong. I mean, that is a little intimidating.
It is.
And I know you have a lot of married friends, but you have single friends as well. Do you find ghosting happening? Because I hear that ghosting is happening a lot, and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, like where you communicated and you feel like we're hitting it off. Maybe you've even been on a date, and then all of a sudden
they disappear.
They literally don't respond back
responding.
to you. Do you find that
that is so much more common these days?
Yes.
That is very common, especially in the dating app world, where you'll be having a conversation with somebody and you're going back and forth. You think, oh, things are going well, like you said, even people will go out and then there's just no communication afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's so demoralizing.
Yeah, I personally haven't really experienced that, but I know a lot of people who have.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate like clear communication.
Yeah,
from both sides.
Right.
And there are people out there. The good news is there are people out there like that.
That want to also be clear.
Exactly.
And so, like, those of you who are single and are watching and listening to this, don't be discouraged. I think it's good to know going in, though. And I would, what I would tell to somebody is, like, if they ghost you, I guess it's better to know now that, they're not obviously your person if it's going to go like that. But it's still hurtful. And you feel like, what did I...
It's wrong.
But I think it's easy to take it personally.
Yeah.
Like, I think putting myself in that position, I would be like, what did I do? And then you never get any resolution. You don't even know what you did if you did anything,
Right.
So it's, it's wild. It's the Wild West out there in the dating world.
Yes, it is.
Well, so when you're you in particular, thinking about, because you're going to be an amazing husband and father, like amazing.
100%.
When, when God brings, the right lady into your life. And for those, you're giving hope right now to single ladies out there that are saying like, they're just no good guys out there. And I'm like, the best guy I know is
single. Have you met Marcus? Yeah.
But what are you looking for in a partner, in a wife, in like when you feel like when God brings in his timing that woman into your life, like what character traits, personality traits are you thinking that, when she walks in and be like, oh, there she is?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the big ones, of course, are someone who loves Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Loves the Lord and is living for him. Outgoing, extroverted. I'm more introverted. I call myself an extroverted introvert.
Yes, I could see that.
And so when I'm with my people, like that energizes me, but being in large crowds of people drains my energy pretty quick. So, but I am attracted to people who usually like to be the center of attention and are more extroverted, outgoing, definitely somebody who loves to travel, as you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
You're quite the adventurer.
Likes to go on adventures. Also loves hosting and like gathering people, because that's something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Having people in my home, having dinner parties, things like that.
That's fun.
Those are the big things for me. Those are like those right there are like the top highlights that I always look for. That's I think kind of going off a little bit from that, I think sometimes we can get too caught up in the specifics of what we're looking for in somebody that we easily write somebody off.
Yeah, you dismiss them too quickly because you have this idea in your head, and if they're not this, if they don't have these physical characteristics and these personality traits, and then it can't be the right person. When God might have the perfect mate for you, and it's nothing like you're thinking.
Right.
She's nothing like you're thinking.
And I think I've found over the years that kind of what I was looking for, some of those things that I thought were important, I've realized aren't as important. Right. Yes, the main core values are still there.
Sure.
But I feel like that list has kind of narrowed over the years not in a compromising way, but just in a more mature way of seeing relationships and seeing what truly matters.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so those are my main things for me.
I think that's awesome. And that's just having wisdom too. I think it's just being wise, like in what really, really matters. You know, when we were talking about this, I thought about JJ and Kate Tomlin of the Heart of Dating podcast. They'll
Great
be the first
resource
to
for
tell
single
you,
people.
great resource. And we've actually gotten to we had dinner with them. They're an amazing couple. But I love how Kate's very honest, and even JJ, it's like they really, like, if you had a list, they maybe wouldn't have met all those things on the list for each other.
Yeah.
But she said, like, she felt because JJ really pursued her. And at first she was like, he is just not what I typically date. Yeah. He's just not like the guys I typically date. But she said that she really prayed about it. And she felt like God was saying, you're getting too clingy with this list. Okay, just give him a chance. Because maybe he has those main things, but he's just a little bit different. And she's like, thank God I gave it a chance, because she's like, I just would have missed out on this amazing mate that God had for me. And I think I love that they're so honest about that.
Yeah, the way they tell it, it's so sweet, because it is.
People need to know that, though.
She's like, she had this idea in my head, and he was almost none of those things.
Right.
But he's the perfect guy for me.
But they're such a sweet match.
Yeah, they're so in love.
I want to say one thing real quick, like those, single people who are watching and listening, I think sometimes they can feel like their life is not beginning, or it just hasn't begun yet because they're not married. You know what I'm saying? And I love that you, Marcus, and you, please, in your own words, speak to this, but the way that as your friend, just watching you live your life, I don't believe you live that way. I think you live a full life, wanting, to possibly be married one day, but not, your life is full as is. Like you are living a full life for the Lord as a single person. And I think it's so inspirational for, just as your friend watching that, but I think to other people, because I do think sometimes we can get stuck thinking, why haven't I met that person? And what's wrong with me? And, gosh, another year passed that I'm not married. But I think it's so important to look at being single as a gift too. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do as a single person that maybe as a married person you wouldn't be able to do. So, what would you say to somebody who's down on being single?
Yeah, I love what you said there. Like, your life is not on hold.
Right.
When you're single and wanting to be married. There's still so much life to live. There's so many relationships to be built. And I think that's something that I've learned. I think over the years, I've had those moments where I have felt down or depressed of like, gosh, I feel, God, what are you doing here? Like, I feel like something should be happening. And then there's other times, where I've felt like I was right in the middle of where God wants me right now. And so, it is so true. Do not just sit around and wait for your life to start. One of the perks of being single is being able to do things like just recently went on a 2-week trip to Europe. A buddy said, hey, I want to go. This is one of my college buddies. He's also single. And we both had talked about, wanting to travel to Europe and do and see some places there. So we're like, yeah, let's do it. And so I didn't have to ask anybody. I knew what my budget was. I knew I could get my time off from work, and I'm off. And so whereas, some of my married friends that have kids obviously can't just up and do that with somebody else.
It's a different reality.
Different reality.
There are benefits and blessings in every season and every situation.
And I think it's cool too, like, one of the things that I think married people and single people can like get out of each other is having those relationships. You can serve each other in different ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas like a married couple that has a bunch of kids might, have nights where things are crazy, but they want like are having friends over, and it's easy for me to say, hey, I'll pick up dinner. Y'all don't worry about it. I can easily just swing by after work, pick up dinner, and bring it over. But then there's also times when they're saying, hey, we're cooking a big meal. You come over. Come join us. We've got food. Don't worry about it. And so I think that's another cool part of having those different relationships and friendships, of seeing ways that you can help encourage each other and serve each other that maybe you couldn't in if you were both were in the same type of marital status.
You know, Dave and I, because we knew we were going to be interviewing you, we were talking about this, you know, how families embracing their single friends, you know, and it brought back memories of one of my dad's best childhood friends. His name was Mike Kilburn. He's sadly passed away years ago. But my parents, like, he was single the whole time that I've known him. And I think he never married. But my dad they had this sweet friendship, and he would come over from time to time because they were cooking a big dinner. Yeah. And he took a special interest in me because my dad, little background, he has an engineering background. And with Mike, they would do these music festivals, and Mike did voiceover work, and like, he was a techie like my dad. And at the time when I was a little girl, I loved to sing, and Mike would sometimes record me. Like, he would set up a little recording thing with my dad and encourage my singing. And then he did local commercials, and he would include me and include my family in these local commercials. And so he was a part of our family's life. And then I remember when I was going after college, I was having the hardest time finding my first job. And my dad happened to mention it to Mike, and Mike called me one day and was like, listen, I have this lead and this lead, apply to these places. I know somebody, I'm gonna put in a good word for you. And I just think about just sharing life, you know? And it's, you know, I was telling Dave, I said, I never even thought of him as a single person. Like, it wasn't like I was like, Mike,
he's just
my
our friend.
parents' single friend. Like, I didn't even think about that. It was like, Mike, a friend of our family, you know? And I just thought, I'm so glad that he was, you know, a friend to our family. He was a wonderful friend. My mom was talking about him the other day, like, man, he was such a good guy. And I'm so glad that he was part of our lives. And so I think it's really, we're cutting ourselves off from even our children from benefiting from all these different friends, whether they're married or not. I mean, I just think that we all need to take a note from Marcus and his friends and how they roll.
We can learn a lot.
And like you said, I like how you said serving each other too, because we all really, you know, we can serve each other in different ways we didn't even think of.
Yeah.
So
I love being the honorary uncle to my friends' kids.
And they said Uncle Marcus. I know, because their little boys in the green room, so precious, little Nolan.
I was over at some friends last night, and you know, I pull up and they said, "Did you bring presents?"
Oh yeah.
So I'm in the category as the grandparents
That's
of
so sweet,
getting in trouble for buying the kids things.
Yeah.
And that's one of the fun things.
Everybody's fun uncle.
Yes. That's the best. That is the best.
Marcus, you left off one important criteria about what your future wife has to have, and I'm a little hurt that you left it off.
Oh, I know what you're about to say.
So
yes.
if you want to share that.
What is it?
I don't want to be the one to say it, so I'll let you say it.
Oh my gosh.
That my future wife has to agree to having Dave Willis officiate the wedding.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's right. You heard it here. You heard it here. I don't care if your dad's a pastor.
Oh my gosh.
He can just give you away.
It doesn't matter. This
it's
is
Dave Willis, guys. Sorry.
This is our guy, right?
All right, I'm in. I can't wait. I can't wait to meet you.
That's right. And there will probably be some emails coming in.
Yeah, I'm sure there will.
The most eligible bachelor.
He is the most eligible bachelor. Would you be, for those who want to just follow your adventures or, you know, send you a video explaining why they are the woman that God has for you, would you be interested in giving your Instagram
He's
away?
like, I don't know.
Sure. Anybody can find me on Instagram. So I believe it is Marcus G. Bowen.
Yeah.
Marcus G. Bowen.
And
check
if
it out.
You follow us at Dave and Ashley Willis, and look at any of our posts, and Marcus is kind enough to like most of our posts.
This is true.
In fact, I get hurt when he doesn't. Like, you got that friend
Was this offensive because Marcus didn't like it?
Do I look bad in this picture, or did I say something offensive? Marcus didn't like this. So you can, if you type it in wrong, go to ours, and you'll find Marcus.
That's true.
And we like his as well, of course.
We do.
Marcus, thank you for just the man of integrity you are, the friend you are, the incredible asset you are to this team, and the light you are in the world. And we're honored to call you a friend. I can't wait to officiate your wedding.
That's
in the meantime, I know he's got great adventures for you. So thank you, my friend, for being here.
Thanks. Appreciate it. And before we end, I do want to say, brag on you guys real quick, since you've already talked about me, that Dave and Ashley are the real deal. I've been in their house. Dave prints out, whenever I have stayed at your house, Dave prints out a picture of me to put on the door for the Bowen suite.
The Bowen suite,
there's food and drinks waiting on the bed. Like, it's like staying at a 5-star resort.
I hope so.
Yes, love y'all's friendship and just the hospitality y'all have, the welcoming friendship that you have with so many of us on the XO team. But I value y'all very much, and just grateful to be coworkers and friends with y'all.
Well,
we love you, Marcus.
love you too.
Yes.
We're so grateful for you.
And we love all of you guys, our listeners, and thank you for being part of this community. Yeah. So send this out to maybe some single friends in your life. Just say, I thought this conversation was really meaningful, and tell them I'm thankful for your friendship.
Yes.
And I thought that you'd enjoy this episode. So send it out, and we appreciate and love you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.